Get ready for the Creators Cup, the ultimate box lacrosse tournament hosted by Allegany Athletics. Register your team now. U11 to U22 divisions, 4 teams guaranteed, OLA rules, and certified refs. Want to promote your business at the event or sponsor or be a vendor? Reach out today. Limited spots available. Email A1Athletics2024 at outlook.com to register, sponsor, or vend. The deadline to sign up is August 6th. Make sure you register your team and don't miss out to be part of something great at the Creators Cup. And the Creators Game podcast just might be there. So make sure that you're there. See you guys there.
Listen to the Creators Game podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts for all your lacrosse updates. Creators Game Podcast. The game don't stop after the whistle.
Creators Game, episode 35. I'm Daya Miller.
Jay Smith.
Chris Vail.
And we're back for another week, but let's just catch up. What has everyone been up to since the last podcast? Let's talk anything outside of lacrosse just for the first little bit. What you guys been up to?
Trying to get all my stuff ready so I can hit the water on a canoe I bought. And slowly but surely I'll get to my boat. Last year I bought a boat launch pass at our at Chiefswood Park, and the boat never even touched the water because I was always fishing with my cousin Jim. But this year I do aim to get out a little more often on my own. So that's what I've been doing.
Been fishing. Okay. What about you?
I think just like there really was a lot of lacrosse games last week, so I went to a lot of those. But outside of lacrosse was going to that banquet on Thursday. That was a fun time.
Oh, okay.
We'd get together and...
How'd you guys feel about the banquet? And for the guys, for you who don't know what we're talking about, we talked about it last week. We went to the Night of Champions by NEPAM. Project Pride got honored with an award. So how'd you guys feel about it?
Well, now we can announce the podcast as award-winning.
Ooh, there it is. There it is.
Yep, there it is. I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I didn't know we were up for anything, and I saw quite a few people that I haven't seen in a lot of years. So it was fun. It was a fun night. It was pretty good food, and I apologize, I did not wear my suit and orange ostrich skin boots, but I was anticipating it to be really warm, but it was in fact really cold. So I did not dress for the weather.
Was there anyone there who was expecting that because they're like avid listeners of the show? Or do you think you got a pass this time?
I think I got a hall pass on that one because a lot of people there listen to the show but don't know if they caught up with the latest episode by then.
Yeah, we put that out pretty quick. What about you, Chris? How did you feel about it? Like those, do you go to those type of events?
I've been to like the Dreamcatcher Gala before and stuff, but like it's been a while. And like you said, that was a fun event. Seeing some different other people from community and saw like that Haudenosaunee Sports won their award and stuff like that right after. So it's nice seeing other people even get recognized in the community for giving back to pretty much stuff in Southern Ontario, right? There was programs in Kitchener, St. Catharines, Hamilton, Brantford, so all over. So that was cool seeing everybody get together for a good cause.
Yeah, and it's really cool to go out there and promote, because when we say like grow the game, we're literally going out to like organizations like that and talking about lacrosse and talking about, you know, some of the great opportunities for the youth that lacrosse can bring outside of, you know, just being on the floor. Mm-hmm. So it's cool to go to events like that. Like, do you guys like dressing up? Is that you guys like those things at all? It
gives us a night away to, you know, rub elbows with, like you said, different agencies and stuff, and you know, we can put on a different persona, so to speak, because people that I know there know what to expect out of me, but people that don't know, then I don't have to be the person I am here and talking a little trash every so often. But it was fun. I mean, I'll give a shout out to Jace Martin. He was the dinner entertainment, Tomahawks alumni. So no matter where we go, you know, there's lacrosse people, so it was pretty fun.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of familiar faces in there. And what about you, Chris? Like, what did you think of the entertainment, the food? You're a food guy. How was the food?
Yeah, it was good. The beef I got and the potatoes and cheesecake was good after. And then Jason did a good job at music, plus the pianist that was after him. And then shout out, right? One of the other things we got was the painting that you said your friend painted for us.
Yeah, that was almost a full circle moment for me, because shout out to Adam Montour. He was the artist that painted the painting we were awarded to, and I've known Adam a long time, worked with his son recently. But yeah, it was cool to see one of Adam's paintings that we got, because he's working on a project who, again, lacrosse, small world. We had help from Brooker Muir to help Adam get a pretty big project at Humber Hospital. So he's tackling that as we speak. So yeah, shout out to everybody that we seen that night.
Yeah, it was a really good night, and again, we're growing the game. We're out here doing our best to represent our community. And what are you guys most excited for? Like outside of just the other day, we actually went for dinner with a fan, or not dinner. We went for lunch with a fan. Do you guys like things like that?
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And shout out to Aaron. That was great to meet him and, touch base and kind of hear what his thoughts, and then him being from the West Coast and what's going on out there in the lacrosse world, and kind of even us maybe telling him some stuff around here, and then him kind of informing us some stuff out there, and eating nice in Port Dover at his family spa and getting some history there. That was really cool.
But one thing that I took from it, I did not know that Aaron was playing in the Senior C loop out there. Mm-hmm. And I had mentioned to him and mentioned to you guys in 2019, I had looked into the Senior C National Championship, and there was, but they played and crowned a national champion before Ontario even had their provincials. So down the road, anybody from Senior C that is watching or listening, I would still like to pursue that, to have a national Senior C championship, because there's Senior C teams obviously out west. I do believe there's some in Alberta. There's some here in Ontario. Who knows? Maybe there might be some on the East Coast that I'm not aware of. But a lot of these guys, they play Senior C because it fits their work schedule. They may higher caliber players, but just can't get to a Senior A or Senior B team because of their work schedule or their family life. Senior C seems to fit a lot of these guys, so why not get them recognized nationwide?
Yeah, I thought it was cool too, because I was telling him how I seen some posts from Will Johnny and stuff, how their North Shore Sun Devils team, and they got the Arizona State logo and stuff, but I wasn't sure. Vancouver Island Lacrosse League, I didn't even realize that was Senior C at first, where I was like, is it a men's league? Is it this? And that's what he said. They're split up into conferences where I forget what he said the other conference is called, but I'm used to the Senior C being here, just Ontario Senior C. So it's cool they got some different names for their leagues out there. And
well, BC goes pretty far north, so I know there is teams that are farther up there. And like I said, I do believe there are some in Alberta. But Senior C here has been divided into East and West now, so the game's growing at that level.
And like you said, too, there's even Senior C in Quebec, so you could really have like a really big national championship if they wanted to.
I had offered to host it in 2019, not knowing that it was played so early on the West Coast, so that might be something that we can even pursue. So, food for thought. Any comments? Shoot them to the Creators Game Podcast.
And then leave a comment below. Also, we've had little lunch dates. We've had dinner dates. We've had all these different things out with fans and different stuff like that. Getting awards. What are you guys excited for next? Like, what is something that you would like to see the Creators Game Podcast bring to your career or your life? Like, what is something that you would want to see next? What do you think is the next step for us?
I look back at our trip to Ganawage, and I think that the want is there and the need is there for us to go to other communities to meet other local talent in whatever community, be it Akwesasne, be it Cattaraugus, be it in different leagues. It doesn't necessarily, for me, to grow the game, it doesn't necessarily have to be in an Indigenous community, but I think that more Indigenous voices need to be heard. Just for the simple fact is we promote quite heavily Six Nations lacrosse, but there are other Indigenous communities. Clearly, everybody. Trey Deer was here a couple of weeks ago or a week or so ago, playing in the community, and you saw the fan base that he had. And there's other players, there's other communities that have big stars that are up and coming. I think they need to be heard.
What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think like Jay said, that was good. And even too, maybe us like getting on more shows, or even kind of how did, like we said, the NLL Media Awards, right? Like how do they kind of get the people reporting on the game in it where it's not just the announcers? Like I think too, that could be spread out. Maybe we win something like that, and then Jay can wear his snakeskin boots. And
the snakeskin.
Ready to go.
Ostrich. Orange
the
ostrich.
Don Cherry of lacrosse can come out and show the world all the goods.
Yeah, I guess I got to get some pretty flamboyant suits now.
Some flamboyant suits. But because we're talking about like, you know, what the next steps are for us and like growing the game and like having more indigenous voices out there, I like that you said that because it kind of leads to like what I guess the next topic is going to be. Our very first topic is how do we have more voices out there? How do we grow the game if we have something like the OLA having a code of conduct pushed on us? And if anyone wants to clear that up, basically give a little bit of insight on the code of conduct changes, who wants to take that one?
Well, like you said, it was kind of like it wasn't as black and white as you think, because when it said like how they owned images for things and stuff like that, it was kind of so if you're just taking a picture of the OLA, like a Chiefs game, if I just put on, hey, boom, taking a picture of Lyle Thompson out there playing, post on my Instagram, went to the game, is that me breaking the code of conduct because it's an OLA event, so I shouldn't have posted their own event?
Now, what you're referring to is the media rights,
The
correct?
media part, yeah.
Okay, so you're giving a scenario of like we're at a Chiefs game, we just take a picture, and then from what the code of conduct says, basically they would own the rights. Is that kind of what it is?
And I'm just thinking like, when I've gone to a Raptors game where I take the picture, where I understand we're not using the image to make money or anything like that, but just how are they kind of going about that? I understand they probably don't want. I was looking at one of those Instagram fight videos like accounts, and I understand they don't want that kind of stuff to get out there, or how somebody brought up about somebody in the community I saw brought up on Facebook about are people mad because people write about the racism in lacrosse, and is it like kind of a shutting down that? And like you said, it was just kind of a random thing, and wasn't it just late on a Tuesday night, I believe, that it kind of got posted, or at least that's when we got the word of it.
It came out around dinner time last week on I think it was Tuesday, but
Must have been a tough dinner, that one.
don't bother. I've been in code of conduct hearings, got me suspended for a year. We visited that a couple of times where I shared a Facebook post that I had nothing to do with writing or anything. I got suspended for, I won't say a year, but they gave me a calendar date when I could return, not a number of games suspended. Basically, all I did was I shared a Facebook post on racism. It was shared 97 times. It was shared by some pretty high, powerful names in lacrosse. I was the only one disciplined. That's neither here nor there right now. So I don't even know what the changes were. I haven't read it, quite honestly. Am I concerned about it? At this point, no, because to me, these changes that have came so abruptly are trying to silence people, trying to put put tape over their mouth, tape over their eyes, whatever. They're trying to take away the rights of people and the freedom of speech and to do whatever they want. I mean, what happens if you, Chris, come out of a Chiefs game and you just happen to be walking down the hallway and Randy Stotts is right there, local hometown boy, and you say, hey, can we take a picture, Randy? Does the OLA own that?
And that's where it's tough, where it's not like, I understand if we're going on OLA website, taking a picture off their website and then maybe putting it in one of our reels or something like that, where it's like, hey, our photographer took it and it's on our website and you guys jacked it from us, where that's understandable. But it just seems like they didn't really look they had just a broad statement and a broad kind of writing of it, where how are they really going to police that? And it almost seems like a pain in the neck to police that, and maybe they should be focusing on other things to grow the game.
They should be focusing on why people are so quick to take pictures or film fighting. What led to this fight? Film an official missing a call where somebody got injured. They should be looking into those reasons or the reasoning behind it. I mean, what are they going to do? Are they going to take your phone at the door when you walk into a game now? Like, is that going to be a prerequisite? Hand your cell phone in? Like,
and isn't that tough too? Because I don't know if like your team has it, but I've heard from other teams where they kind of have somebody in the stands filming stuff just in case an incident happens. They can kind of go back and say.
Little known fact. Senior B has told every team in Senior B league that they had to film all their games. So how does this put a damper on? Does it put a damper on it, or is that for OLA use only so they can monitor the games? That's fine, But to me, I was told it was to monitor the game, see if there was a controversial call or a controversial goal, they can go back. But we are also told how many times that once an official makes a ruling, it can't be changed. So is it gonna? I can see maybe where they will take a video or game film and say, okay, that guy got too big of a penalty for that. That shouldn't have happened. But they're not going to just completely say, that call's dismissed. I don't think, anyways. I've never seen it or heard of it in my lifetime. But now, does that? Okay, JVI Sports. They filmed the Rivermen game Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
They filmed the Chiefs game Saturday. Now, can they post that stuff on their own social media account, or does it have to go right to YouTube? Or will they get their hand slapped if they post highlights on social media?
Well, like the thing is like let's say like it's a public space. You are allowed to film and record. It's public. Mm-hmm. Like you are in a public space. It's a public event. Matter of fact, half of the teams that all the teams they're technically kind of managing are mostly minor, right? And then you're not even giving some of these parents an option to opt out. Like you have to allow like parents to be like, hey, like, you don't own the likeness of my child. If I want to opt out, I should be allowed to. And then once they see all these parents opting out, they'll be like, yeah, that was a missed one. Maybe we should go back to the drawing board and look at the code of conduct because all these parents are opting out. But they don't even allow that. Like, it's like just due process or something like that. I can't remember. But anyways, but they're not even allowing that little bit of like parents to speak up and say, hey, I don't want you don't own the likeness of my child.
Well, let's go back a little bit to what Chris had said something about, is it an OLA event? Do they own the rights if their photographer took the pictures? A couple of years ago, a OLA photographer was taking pictures and sent them to me and said, here's some pictures for you. So did he just relinquish the rights of those pictures?
Well, like with photography, again, like you're allowed to take pictures. In journalism, it's proper to give, people recognition to be like, photo by.
Granted, but Again, this was a member of the OLA. He now sits in a pretty high position that was taking the pictures. He gave those pictures to me. So are they're no longer, to me, they're no longer OLA property anymore.
Well, they never were OLA property, really.
He was there taking pictures for the OLA.
Okay, well, in that circumstance, yes. If he was contracted to take pictures for the OLA, then yes.
But then he gave them to me, or gave me copies.
Well, maybe that's on him. Then
yeah,
I don't know.
His permission, maybe.
Yeah, that's on him
as the artist.
So there's a gray area. So, and to touch on what you said, Chris, is it an OLA event? Is a Chiefs game or a Rivermen game or an Innismore game or a Chaos game? Are they OLA events? Maybe the Chaos was a bad example because they are in the SSL, which, to my recollection, every team pays an entry fee each weekend, and that money is used to cover floor time, refs, and stuff like that. So it's kind of the league that pays for that. But for a Rivermen game, it's the Rivermen that pay the floor time, not the OLA.
And even like what Day is saying about them owning kids' right, like name, image, and likeness. And then in the States, the big whole thing for years was the NCAA owning name and likeness. They now, in the last year or two, have given it back to their student athletes. And then here the OLA comes back old school style and takes it back. Oh, hey, we're owning the name and likeness of players.
And then even like putting this code of conduct out right now and seeing the political landscape of what's going on in the world, like didn't anyone like in like their public relations department be like, hey, this isn't a good look? Like, just look around right now. We're basically doing what we're fighting against with the rest of the world, what's going on politically. Mm-hmm. Like, we are trying to silence lacrosse players who are just trying to grow the game. I understand if they're like, hey, we don't want you to post fights because fighting doesn't grow the game. I agree. Maybe all of these fights don't grow the game. They happen. Yeah, they happen, and sometimes they're promoted because they're good fights. But, like, I get that that's not a good thing. Like I can see that point of view, but like just to put this code of conduct out and then the language of it is just like there's no way you're gonna be able to stand behind that. You're gonna have so many lawsuits of people coming at you. It's just that like you're never gonna be able to enforce it. So why even put it out? Why was there not someone in public relations being like, that's not a good look?
And is it any post about like today a junior C team posted about getting the balls that they got from the other team, Orangeville or whatever, and it went on, got put on Facebook, and it went all over the place. So is that kind of, hey, you can't be talking about an OLA event that you were at and posting the pictures of the balls of the game,
talking derogatory about another team?
Yeah,
and the person who posted it is an OLA person.
Yeah,
like yeah.
Who knows? Like, it's such like again, it's such a touchy issue. What are they trying to tell us we can and can't do? That's the thing. So
it's usually like I think the big question is, what are you trying to hide? Like, why don't you want people to talk about? Isn't the OLA great? Wouldn't you want them to talk about it?
let's look at it from this point of view. There are social media accounts whose main purpose is to post lacrosse fights only. So is somebody from the OLA going to go and monitor that specific social media account to see if it's, hey, there's an OLA team, hey, there's an OLA player? Because these accounts are posting fights from lacrosse from everywhere, not just the OLA. So are they going to monitor those accounts and just look for OLA stuff and then try to discipline them? What if this person is located in, I don't know, Utah? Are they going to try to discipline them because they posted an OLA fight? How does that work? What if we have tourists who have never seen the game of lacrosse come to a lacrosse game? What if they film it and post it? It's a one-off time, that this first and only game they've ever been to. Is the OLA going to try to discipline somebody that's from Germany who's just took in their first lacrosse game and posted stuff?
It makes me think of that Watch More Box Lacrosse guy. Like, I don't know where he's from, but like he hasn't shown himself yet, but like he's probably from out in the States or something. He could just like terrorize the OLA because he's from the States, and what are they going to do, right?
And what Jay was saying, that main fighting account, that gentleman is not from Ontario. I have my inside sources.
Your inside sources?
I've talked to the gentleman, and he's not from Ontario.
Wait a minute. You wised up and went with my sources and not instead of just name dropping.
I'm learning.
He's getting smart now.
A couple people, I'm like, hey, just unnamed sources.
There you go.
Yeah, so like, what are they only going to do? He's not from Ontario. They can't just ban him every time he posts an Ontario fight. He has posts, like you said. I seen like there was a crazy senior B fight where the guy got on the bench. That was his newest post, but at least it's not lacrosse, and that was a whole thing, right? Even things going on Facebook of an incident we'll get in probably later on, right? When we talk K&M and
so what happens when somebody like TSN posts a fight on TSN Top 10 or whatever the hell it is? Are they going to try to sue TSN?
Someone like TSN, they probably could try to go after it, but again, you need some big pockets, and you got to stand behind that.
I mean, if I take a video of a fight and I send it to TSN and they use it, I gave them the rights for that video, not the OLA.
I mean, if you filmed it, then yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's send everything to TSN and let them fight it out, or we're not on a social media, we're on YouTube. Why don't they send their fight videos to us?
I mean, it's still technically social media.
Is it though?
Yeah.
And like you said too, it's everybody's the world, right? Of like he's saying, the climates of everybody has a cell phone too, right? And it's like, how can you stop that in this day and age?
Yeah, it's no different than like, you know, when people are like, oh, I want cops to wear body cams, and the cops are like, no. It's like, well, what are you really trying to hide? People are just trying to film a lacrosse game. Something bad happened. They posted it. You would think that you would want to be held accountable for it. Shot clock. Kylie there was just like, oh, I can't remember the quote she said, but it was something about they need to stop suspending people and just be more accountable, basically. I can't remember. She had a good quote, though.
Well, again, it goes back to what if somebody's grandma who's 85 years old, and you can't tell me 85-year-olds don't use cell phones, because I've seen them. I've seen senior citizens with cell phones. What if they post a fight? Is the OLA going to try to go after this 85-year-old woman or man or whoever? Come on.
Yeah, it's all about like, yeah, you know, you can put rules out there, but if they try to like enforce them, then there's going to be problems, I guess.
Well, I'm still of the opinion that send your fight videos to us. We'll put them on YouTube. So if there's any lawyers walking that want to make big bucks, give us a shout.
Yeah, we're gonna move on from that one because we're gonna get right into local lacrosse. Let's start with let's not get right into the drama right away. Let's start with Rebels. We just got the announcement. Rebels new round 2 is going up.
Yes, Rebels swept Hamilton, had a few days off. You know, let their young bodies rest. Now they have the Elora Hawks, the E-Hawks.
The E-Hawks.
I might go to a couple of these games to see if they chant "Let's go Mohawks" or "Let's go E-Hawks." That's my goal in the next couple of weeks, Vale.
That's my goal in the next couple of weeks. What do you think, Vale?
How much money to wear the Hawks shirt Monday at the ILA if an Elora fan came and said, "Here, Jay, I'll pay you this amount of dollars to wear this. Would you do it?"
Show me the money.
But how much? Someone just says, "Oh, I got like, I don't know, just $200."
Sure.
$200.
Sure.
All right.
Throw in a hat too.
Throw in a hat. Right on.
I mean, we went to Gunnawagi. They gave us T-shirts and hats. I mean,
Yeah, there we go. Still waiting for my Free Rebels one, right?
The Free Rebels one.
But
Okay,
like I said,
glad you two said that.
it's like I said too, going into this weekend at Valora, there may be drama because the last time these two teams faced, the whole Rebels coaching staff was suspended, and I think two coaches might still be suspended from that, and their equipment guy had to end up being the head coach for a handful of games there because I don't know if there was the goalie fight and a little bit of a brawling and some stuff I guess leaked out into the lobby there, so. And that was tough too because that was the only time they played Elora, and one was their second loss of the season, the Rebels. So have to see if the reffing is better, if was one of the cases of better reffing, and maybe if things don't overheat, they can kind of get a game one win Friday in Elora and bring it back here. Because that's the thing I was telling some of the different people about if they face Elora in Orangeville. Hey, even for Junior C, right, had the issues in Orangeville is those teams still have to come here and play, so they can't get all the calls on their at home. They have to be road teams too.
Come on, Vale. They've played home games and their team still got all the calls.
Yeah, true. I'm just saying. I was trying to pump up the young players. All right,
Pump up the young players. Yeah, I don't know. Is there tension still there? Has there been tension at all? Like since that last incident?
Well, like Chris said, they haven't played each other since then. So,
but like I don't know. Like I don't even know. Are these young folks out there DMing each other on Instagram? Say, oh, next time I see you, we're gonna run up type stuff.
I'm not too sure how things used to go nowadays, but with especially the social media nowadays. But did I know some players back in the day that used to find out about a player they were facing on social media? This is back in the old Facebook days, and we're kind of
MySpace
talking,
days.
yeah, MySpace and Facebook days, like kids I went to school with, or even just some old stories from some old Albany players back in the day of, hey, your girlfriend, she's hot, she's this, she's that, and then they would find all about it from Facebook, right? So I don't know.
We're in that age now. You can hit the like button on your ops girl or something like that,
yes.
or follow. Ooh,
and this gentleman, he was a teammate of mine at Utica, and he was known to do it. He was an honorable mention All-American, so it must have worked. He's good old. I don't want to say names, but
no. We don't want to throw any names.
But yeah, he was always known to kind of do that and kind of, hey, your girlfriend, this, that, and this, and or he'd even, I think, BS and be with her. And then there was even an old story. This is when I was like still in high school, coaching at camp. These guys are all, I don't know, Albany guys way back in the day, and I guess I can't remember what school they were playing. The one player, I guess, had relations with another player on the other team's girlfriend who went to U Albany, but I guess he rode the pine. So they said it was their star attackman that did it. Just to piss that guy off. They were like, we don't want to say who really slept with his girlfriend because that guy never played. So we just said it was this guy. And heck, that guy was off his game that day, mad.
What about you as a coach? What have you seen some of the players, or what have you stopped them from doing?
Usually, given the circumstances of whatever's going on at the time, like I know rolling into a game with somebody who there was a lot of history with. I would just tell the boys, you know what to expect. You know they're going to try to get in your head. You know they're going to do this, they're going to do that to provoke. Play our game, and if their game seems to be a little better that day, then play theirs. But don't let them get to you. And oftentimes, things would overheat. There'd be friction on the floor. People would be fighting or whatever. And it's pretty tough to, in the heat of the moment, to try to remind these guys we're here to play and not to run out there and fight. So there's been times when I've had to physically step off the bench and block the door, grab players, pull them back and stuff. But then there's also been times where, like, you can't control them. They're going to go. And there ain't no sense in trying to grab hold of a player or two who are infuriated because next thing you know, they're going to throw you on your head. So, but at the same time, maybe I have and I don't remember, but I don't think I've ever just sent players, yep, let's beat the shit out of them.
What about like, because we're talking kind of like social media being brought into things, like before the social media age, I don't know, well, Facebook has always been around, but like, has there ever been any time where you had to be like, I don't want to hear about any of that drama in the dressing room, or like there's certain topics where like, as a coach, you hear that players start talking about it, and you just have to be like, nope, like that's it. We're not talking about this. I don't want to hear it or whatever. Has there been like stuff like that?
Oh yeah, there's been times when it'd be like, oh, you hear your players, oh, so and so posted this or said this or messaged them, like leave it there. You're going out to play a game. Don't worry about social media. Don't worry about who's texting who. Don't worry about who's DMing anybody. Don't worry about who's messaging who posted what. Who cares? After the game, then you deal with all that stuff. And sure as hell, they're on the floor chirping each other, and that conversation is still going on. But like Chris said, even back in the day, you can still get under your opponent's skin prior to the game by doing stuff like that. And yes, it's game psychology. Yes, it's mind games. And if something happens, then something happens. Do other teammates try to get other players try to get their opponents mad by saying, hey, your girlfriend's this, or I did this with her, or whatever? Of course they do. It went on way back then, before when it was the old dial-up phones.
Prank call?
Yeah.
Imagine that.
But if you can get your players in the right headspace, who cares? That's the key, is getting some players are fired up. It goes way back to we were talking about fighting on the floor. Some guys have that designated role. I don't promote people to go out there and just try to kill each other, but there are roles. And when you get to junior and senior, players have roles. Sometimes some are enforcers. Sometimes they're just out there to just look mean, and it works.
And what do you think about the Rebels and their playing style? Do you feel like they're more of a rambunctious bunch, or do you feel that again, they're always having a slow start? Our teams always just have a slow start. The first period's kind of. I feel like sometimes we're losing in the first period, and then we end up coming back. But do you feel like the Rebels are a rambunctious bunch, or do you think that they're they're calm? Because sometimes we do have some junior teams that can just be out there and can be too much for the other team, or even too much for the coaches who are trying to handle them.
Look at the Rebels season. Look at all the suspensions they've had. Are they rambunctious? Going by all the history of this season, yeah, they are. But that's not to say they're out there just looking for trouble. They're out there looking for fights. I'm going to assume, I haven't seen all the games, but they're probably defending themselves. They're not necessarily starting it, and you get that a lot of times too. Rebels have rolled in because of team history over the last couple of decades. The Rebels roll in already with a target on their back. When did they win their first Founders? 90?
Was it 96 or 7?
96 or 97? So from that point on, they've had the target on their backs. Look at when they went through that run from, 2011 to 2014 or something like that. Undefeated for years.
You figure they even went from winning 07, 08 to like you said, the 09 and 10 they didn't win, then just to win 4 in a row. So that was 6 championships in 8 years.
And those 4 years, it wasn't even, a fluke. They went undefeated for 4 years.
And then almost won again, just what they lose by a goal or so in 19.
Yeah.
Lost to Calgary. So they almost won again. So they have been back since.
They already have a target on their backs. And other teams that we've played, I've talked to other coaches next season or whatever, and they've said, oh yeah, we tell our boys do this and do this and do this to get under their skin. So based on talking to coaches that we've played against, our boys have targets on their backs. Their other teams are sent out there to provoke, to antagonize, to draw them into penalties, and it works. Unfortunately, it works. That's why I try to tell our guys growing up, play your game. Don't play theirs. Play yours. And it goes on today, even in senior. Play your game, not theirs.
What's not bad about the Rebels is, too, they are still a younger team, like a lot of first and second year players. So something they can kind of build on, or kind of seeing the maybe almost kind of haven't been there yet because they are so young. So they can kind of, get in the second round and these atmospheres and kind of learn as they go. And
pleasant surprise with the Rebels this year, because they are young and they're going as far as they're doing great. They are young. They're really young. That guy, those guys, some of them who are first year. Let's see where they are in year 5 of their junior career. Mm-hmm. They're doing amazing. Shout out to the coaching staff. I know there was a bit of a turnaround. The old guard and new guard brought in. Nick Sky put in a lot of years with the Rebels, and this year they brought in a new bench staff. And I'm sure there was a lot of bumps in the road and stuff like that. But shout out to all of them.
Like you said too, I think that some of the newer coaches, like at least the main 2 new coaches, the head coach and stuff, I don't know if they really have a fish in the race, right? Like they don't have a son on the team or anything like that. They're kind of there just to kind of get winning back with the Rebels. I even seen one of the coaches, was his birthday yesterday, and one of the players posted on Instagram like, hey, just wanted to say happy birthday to one of the best teachers I've had. Because that's the thing with a lot of these kids, and we talk about in minor and stuff, they maybe don't have sometimes the best coaches or who's volunteering. So it's good to see that a guy who was an ex-pro come back to Rebels and be the assistant D coach and stuff and teach these kids some good stuff.
Yeah, it's always good to see culture being built outside of the dressing room within the team. So seeing like a happy birthday and again, I only see about it because through Instagram, that's kind of how we keep up with stuff or whatever, unless you're actually there in the dressing room with them. But so it's really good to see more culture of the teams outside of the dressing room by using social media. And again, I hate to go back to social media, but sometimes we want to know more about these teams. That's why we have this podcast. That's why we're following, lacrosse here on Six Nations. Now, you were talking about how, the Rebels sometimes have a target on their back and stuff like that. Now, we had a situation with Six Nations Fire. Do you feel the Six Nations Fire has a target on their back? But before that, answering that question, can you break down the scenario though for what happened at the latest Six Nations Fire game when basically they walked off the floor?
So it looked like the Sunday game. I was watching a little bit of it, and they were down 11-3 to Seneca War Chiefs, and Seneca, I guess that would be now their 9th win, 9-0 in the season, and I guess the Fire have been kind of short bench. Looked like one of their goalies was playing player, and incident happened. The War Chiefs and the Fire guy got in a fight. The Fire guy was the War Chief guy I thought was kind of punching the Fire guy while he was on the ground. And next thing you know, there was going to be penalties, and then the Fire decided to walk off the floor and end the game with about 8 and change left in the second period. And nobody really knew what was going on. I know I just bought the 50-50 and was kind of running over. And the War Chiefs guys didn't know either. Like the gentleman I was saying next to, I don't know if his son was playing or if he also sounds like he was helps the organization as well. It was kind of like, are they coming back? And a lot of fans didn't know if the game was done. The refs didn't really announce anything. They just kind of walked off, and then the War Chiefs guy got his bucket of balls, and the team practiced and threw the ball around there for a good half hour. And I don't know. It was kind of, you don't really see that often of a team walking off. I know they had a game earlier in the season in Tonawanda where that was on YouTube by Blue Sasquatch, and there was a whole fight, and that game just ended with 13 minutes left in the third. But they did say that was actually, because I said, did they just walk off then too when that game was over? But that was the refs called that game. So.
And what was your thoughts on, no, you weren't there, right?
I was there.
Oh, you were there? Okay.
Yeah, me and Jay met there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had a secret meeting without you there.
I know.
Yeah, I was there. Chris and I sat there and chatted for a little while. We were watching a game. What I did notice about the War Chiefs, or not the War Chiefs, about the Fire, is they were very short benched. I don't know why, didn't ask, not my business, but I did notice they had, 11 players?
Yeah, it looked like.
So I went outside with our minor lacrosse president, Cub McNaughton, and I was talking with him, and then people start coming out. So we're like, what the heck's going on? And I did have a chat with the timekeeper, and she had stated that there was issues with the Fire bench staff having concerns of the refs not keeping their players safe, so that's why they left the floor. Whether that is the full story, I don't know. I don't have all the details. I don't have any of the facts other than what the timekeeper told me. Going by their social media post, that does seem to be one of the big concerns, was they want to make sure that their players were kept safe. And I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. One of the refs' jobs is to keep the players safe, hence why there's rules and hence why there's penalty minutes given out. So I don't really know the political stuff that goes on behind the scenes with the Fire. I do hope that there's a team next year because it gives more players places to play. But let's see what happens today.
Yeah, and this is a perfect example of why people film games. So now we can look back and be like, oh, okay, what was really going on?
Post away in that league because it's not OLA.
Yeah, post away.
And it also sounded like maybe some players went some other teams beforehand from Fire. They were saying a guy went to Tuscarora and stuff, but now after them folding, 2 of the players are War Chiefs, I guess, said, hey, we'll take you. So they're transferring over to play the rest of the season with the War Chiefs. So I don't know if more of the players will find a place to play or if just the season's done.
More players have already found places to play.
Nice.
Inside sources tell me.
There you go.
Not mentioning any names.
Yeah.
Well, it's always we want everyone to play. Like no one just wants their season to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully everyone finds somewhere to go. But like, what do you guys think? Is there a target on the Fire's back? Because that's kind of what I heard from some of the staff was that they feel that that there is kind of a target on their back, and the OLA never wanted to release some of these players, and there has always been tension amongst the refs that represent the OLA that are sent there. Is there any? Have you ever heard that or felt that?
It seems like I know they've gone definitely some of those local players that left like junior C and stuff like that. I know they said a player or two try to come back and they can't yet. This year they have to wait till next year to transfer back to try again to maybe play junior C or Rebels. But the one guy was reffing. I seen he reffed the Warriors game Saturday and was reffing that Fire game and then went to ref the Arrows after. So nothing bad to say about him. I don't know if they have issues with him or if it was the other ref. But I know there was issues with refs all last year and for both teams, right? They hate this ref, they hate that ref. But then it's tough when there's only so many refs, right? There's games there was a senior B game in Jay's Riverman League, right? That was canceled, right? A Hamilton game was canceled, short list of refs. I saw Ganawagi Mohawks post they had a game canceled for short as a refs, so there's not a lot of refs. So that's why I think too they're letting the refs ref First Nations and ref OLA. And
There was a game canceled a couple of weeks back in Can-Am because the refs wanted Father's Day off. So in a situation like that, did those refs give 24 hours notice like you're supposed to? Mm-hmm. And what does that look like for rescheduling that game? For the Can-Am and FNLA rules, some of them are a little murky to me. I know there is a lot of rules that are a little different, and I haven't brushed up on them. I haven't really had a reason to. But so like FNLA, Fire, do they have a target? I wouldn't necessarily say the team itself does, but I think that any team, my opinion only, it seems that any team from Six Nations that joins the Can-Am loop or the FNLA loop struggle. They always struggle. Look at the Slash years ago. Mm-hmm. The Slash struggled for a lot of years. Having a junior B team and a Can-Am team based here is good because the Can-Am team now has players to pull from if they need APs, but who do the Fire pull from if they need APs? They can't pull from Six Nations minor lacrosse because it's OLA.
And like we said, that's where it kind of can get screwy because like when the Stealth had their big fight, then they had to call up U22 or U21 players and U17 players where, like you said, if something happens and they can't get enough guys because of suspensions or injuries, there's only so many goalies you can make a player, right?
Well, I think that's a prime example. I don't know what was going on with the Fire. They only had 11 guys that day. Mm-hmm. They could have used APs, but who do they pull from? Do they pull from FNLA minor? They kind of have to, I think. I'm not sure of those rules.
Yeah, like where can they pull from? Like like you said, like even can they only pull from Tuscarora because they don't have a senior B team or junior? Or I guess they have a junior B team, yeah. So I don't know who they, right? Like it gets kind of weird like that and murky. Or even how last year, the whole season, thinking the Fire players could AP Warriors, to find out in the end they weren't allowed to because the Warriors had to do paperwork and both teams had to do paperwork where it's the same ownership group. And they're both Six Nations teams. They thought they were straight up affiliated. So when kind of Fire season over, being like, hey, you're going to pull up that one player that plays with you guys and practices with you guys all the time. Oh, no, we can't pull them up because we're technically not affiliated because we didn't fill out some paperwork.
See,
but nobody, I don't think, told them that. And then
now that, to me, yeah, that was withholding information like that. You can't just go, oops, we forgot to tell you. That is a target to me.
Because like you said, too, and like I'm sure you probably realized being a media guy and stuff for some of those teams, they were only putting the Warriors in, right? The whole grand scheme of everything was just going to be the Grand River Warriors. We're putting this Can-Am team in. This guy's going to run it and start it up and find the players. And the FNLA said, hey, would you want to? And like even Jay's talked about, he almost put a junior B team in that league before of, hey, do you want to put a junior B team in? So they kind of, yeah, sure. put a junior B team in the same time as a senior B. So the heart's always been with the Warriors, but I don't know if. And then the league kind of asking for the Fire to be in, but then it seems like the Fire's had the most issues with the league that asked them to be in it in the first place.
Well, and then to go off of that, one of the conversations I had with Cub the other day, a very brief part of it was minor teams from here joining FNLA. It was looked into, not by Cub, not by anybody with Six Nations minor lacrosse. It was looked into by my oldest son Brody, and they said to accept them, they need a minimum of 3 teams. So this is for all the parents that are listening. Many times we've heard parents say they just want to leave the OLA, and more than once I've seen people put that option out there. Well, let's make a team and join the FNLA. It was put out there on social media. We need 3 teams. Who wants to join? I think he had 6 or 7 responses.
And I was going to say, too, the biggest gripe I've heard from players, or maybe some players that even came back to play junior B and stuff in Ontario or go some other places instead of playing in the FNLA, was the lack of games, right? Even one player I knew last year, he went over from junior C to Fire, was last year they only had 10 games. Then he was wrongfully suspended because they put the wrong number in the game sheet, so he only played 6. Where if he stays here and played Brantford Junior C, where he played the year before, he's playing a minimum of 15 games minus injury or getting sat.
So how many games have the Fire had this year?
Oh, I don't know.
It doesn't look like very much.
5?
Yeah, and that seemed to be what I was hearing of grapes of. They've played 5 games and been like around 5 games, right? Don't quote us on it, but since April, when like you've had the Rebels play 20 games and you had the Stealth play 16, 15 games, where it's got to suck when they're supposed to play the War Chiefs to start the year off, and I guess the War Chiefs didn't have their stuff together because players are all over in schools and high school lacrosse and this and that. So all these games, so a game that was supposed to play in April was supposed to now get played at Brantford Civic Center Thursday. It's July. So they had that. They had Tynanaga then the next week say, hey, we're going to fold things up before it got started. So that was 2 games canceled off the docket, plus then away games versus Tynanaga or later games. Then Allegany, the Friday night, hey, we don't have enough players. We're not going to come play you guys. So that was a straight up forfeit for Allegany. So they've had multiple games get canceled. Then they go out to Tonawanda, game gets called. The other day they walk off the floor. That's like almost playing one game there with the 2 halves. They've only played half a game in Tonawanda and half a game on Sunday.
Onondaga?
Yep. Onondaga folded, so that was one less team in the league as well. Even just how even Onondaga folds, right? Warriors are ready to go. This stuff's paid for, right? You don't get the money back at the arena canceling on the Friday night. So I don't know if ownership, kind of if the league finds those teams, but how can you find a team that just straight up folds or straight up doesn't come back into the league when they cancel?
Well, I don't think the organization itself has left the Can-Am League. It just they've folded up that for this season. My understanding of it anyways, but their junior team, Onondaga Can-Am and junior team, did the junior team fold up as well?
The junior team folded up before the year started, and then Tynanaga was coming back in.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool, same amount of teams. And then Tynanaga, 2 days before their season starts, was like, something happened. I heard it was coaches didn't get certified in time, so they decided not to have a season. So all those games that were on the schedule got taken off.
There's three teams gone from the FNLA Junior B loop now.
Yeah, it's slim pickings, but I'm hoping everyone, if they haven't found a team to be on, they find a team. We want everyone to play. I don't want anyone not to play.
Well, what needs to be done in that league to ensure that you get X amount of games, you get teams that aren't going to fold up? Is it financial? Is it lack of players? Like, what is it?
Seems like the biggest thing I just hear from everybody, and whether it's FNLA or OLA or we want teams or start teams, is it's expensive.
It is.
However you find, every buses are $2,000 and
or more.
Or more. And then every time a player, get in the water, buying players pizza or subs after a game or before a game, and then water for the bus, and sticks if kids break sticks or players break sticks, and then like everything, right? Like getting a team, if you want to, a lot of teams I know don't even get helmets and gloves for teams anymore, right? Because it's just put the cost somewhere else.
Bare bones minimum to run a junior team, and I know this from when I was with the Junior C Warriors a few years back. bare bones minimum. No matching helmets, no matching gloves, no new sticks, no feeding them, no bus, none of the luxuries. It's $30,000, and that's on the low end of running a junior team. That's a lot of money.
And then did that include the fines? Like having to pay any fines?
No.
So it's like, and you hear fines, right? You can't believe like that these different leagues fine for this $500 and this $1,000 and this $2,000. And it's like we said, I'm sure the Fire, like we were saying, probably got a hefty fine for walking off mid-game, or how you have heard about teams in other leagues getting big suspensions and stuff like that.
Well,
so sure
I don't know how it works over there.
How they do it, right? But
over here, I know of coaches who have gotten 10 games for pulling their team off the floor. I know of a coach a few years back that got, I think he got a year, maybe 2 year suspension, and had to recertify as a coach.
And honestly,
that was part of his discipline.
And honestly, I just think like paying fine money, right? Like it's just like kind of, you might as well just take your green cash and burn it, right? Like you could put it towards other stuff, right? Like,
my personal opinion, when you get to junior and senior and these players are getting fines, they should have to pay them. Like, come on, you're old enough to know. So, my opinion, players should have to pay those fines if they get them.
And maybe like Masters, right? Guys can get stuff, and that's what we told guys last year, because the one guy who was running on the one team was paying stuff and kind of was spending a lot of money. And I just told guys, hey, if you get a fine, you got to pay your fine for acting up, because too it makes it of, hey, you're accountable. And last year we didn't have any fines because nobody was acting up when they had to pay the money themselves. Plus too, like we talked about, what did the leagues do with the fine money? Like I said, how I know in Masters they do a thing where they don't want to reward us by giving the fine money back to us and taking the league, like the cost down. They were like, we'll put it towards a charity of everybody's choice kind of thing.
I seen that on Facebook. Someone being like, "Oh, I can't wait for the OLA to get audited and stuff like that." Like asking where the fine money is going, basically. So yeah, I know they would not want to be audited. That's a fact.
I know of a player last year got a 9-game suspension and got a $750 fine, and it had to be paid before he stepped on the floor the next year. And the guy didn't start the season when the season started because he didn't have his fine paid, and the fine got paid, and now he's been suspended until next year.
And like we said too, it's any appeal is $500, and if you win the appeal, you don't get your $500 back. So
and you have to appeal within like 5 days of getting it, or something like that.
And what's their reasoning of not giving the $500 back if you proved them wrong? You win cases, right? You get your bail money back and stuff like that. So it's kind of,
I think it's kind of like a thing where, like, yeah, you signed up for the league, so we get to decide whatever they kind of want. And that's kind of the thing, is that until people do a pushback, it's like no different than in political stuff. There's a new regime, people take over, and there's different people and board members get moved around, different things like that. Once people start, causing enough ruckus.
And not trying to put Jay on the spot here, but when you've gone to hearings with players, who's the hearing with? Is it just the commissioner of that league? Like, let's say the senior B commissioner and stuff like that, or their junior B commissioner when you're in that league?
They usually bring in 2 or 3 higher ups. So, like, for example, if there's an incident in senior C, they'll bring in the senior B commissioner or MSL dignitary, just so that there's other people and not just 3 people from that league.
Gotcha. So some biases don't.
Yeah.
happen.
So they'll spread it out. I know a few years ago when I had my code of conduct hearing, they brought in people who were retired from the OLA, and so oftentimes the bottom line is you're still sitting there and you're still in front of OLA people. Some of them, the only time they've heard of what happened is the day of, which is good because they're not drawing in any opinions. They're not basing theirs on something they've read or heard a week ago or whatever. But what irks me about this whole appeal process is you have 5 days. For if you get a big, huge suspension, it takes a little while to process that mentally and emotionally. The other thing is that allegedly, I think if it's under 5 games, you can't appeal. But I've seen leagues who went against their own rules and appealed stuff 3 weeks later to give a player a bigger suspension. So where's the happy medium here?
Because I heard a thing a few years ago. I was talking to a junior B guy around here, and he was telling me about there was an incident with a ref and a player. The kid was suspended. He came back and he played, and then the ref said they weren't going to ref that team's game, and then that kid ended up having to get suspended for the rest of that season after he had served that initial suspension. And that team had to pay like $1,000 or $2,000 to the OLA. That kid ended up then having to serve the rest of the season.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of money being built up where we don't know where it's going. But let's move on to the next topic. Arrows. They played Orangeville, and then just the other night, who'd they play?
Brampton Friday and Brampton Sunday.
Okay. Orangeville game, they lost, and then Brampton, they won at home.
Yeah, one at home. And they won on the road 12-7, and I kind of left a little bit early. It was like 15-8 or something like that, I think.
Yeah, they ran up the score a little bit, a lot towards the end.
Mm-hmm. I know, like I texted today, like, slow start again because it was 4-1 for Brampton, and then those guys came all the way back, and that was cool. I was talking to a guy, he was a fan of the show from Michigan that played for Brampton, and that was cool. He talked about he was really trying to play a lot of box lacrosse around here, and we were talking, he was saying how the Brampton team was very young, 2006, 2007s, and even a gentleman was from Barrie, and he was telling me how his kid, Barrie was done junior B, so now he was back playing full junior A for the rest of the season. So Brampton kind of seemed to have a lot of players from all over, and the Arrows, like, Jay, what did you think of the Wednesday game? Like, that was a good game, right? We got to see Trey Deer and Nick Rose, two friends of the pod.
Well,
I was at standoff, if there was a standoff.
We saw Rosie the night before too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to the Arrows game when they played Orangeville. Low scoring affair, very low scoring. The final score was only 5-2.
It was a battle of technique.
Was it though?
Well, actually, it was just the goalies.
I get it. Like, I was talking to Cam Bunbury after the game, and the first thing that he had said was, "How do you get held to 2 goals and 5 goals in Junior A?" Stellar goaltending, stellar defense. I got to see Trey again. Trey came off the floor and had a lot of fans. A lot of Six Nations youth wanted to talk to Trey Deer, which I think is amazing because, again, here's a young guy who is helping grow the game, has his own brand out there, and it was oblivious that he had on an Orangeville jersey. They didn't care. To me, he's a great guy, great kid, stand-up kid. I did hear a few Six Nations fans who said that they were there actually cheering for Orangeville.
One thing I was going to say too, from this year's Arrows team to past years, is I think sometimes in the past years, looking at standings, it was the Arrows should win tonight. This team's 1-5, and then the Arrows would lose either by a lot or by a little bit. They would lose. They would win the games maybe they shouldn't have won. Sometimes lose those games too, but then they would lose the games that they should have won. Where this year, hey, Brampton's a little lower in the standings than us. Boom, let's take care of business Friday, they did, and then took care of business Sunday, they did. So they had that tough loss Wednesday, but came back with 2 wins to kind of keep ahead in the standings, because it seems to be a tight race. Like, there's the Beaches got Josh Mills, who was leading scorer once in NAG a couple of years ago, so a native guy from BC, and different teams. There was a lot of movement of either trades or guys coming from other provinces. And then the Arrows, they got this Justin Hill. He was pretty good, and I saw they had Nathan Warden, lefty from UMBC in Brampton. So I don't know if I didn't see anything about picking him up this year. I don't know, maybe they picked him up at the end of last year and he just is back now from school or other business. So the Arrows, like, they're looking good, and they're still, like, I believe, in second place.
Yeah, they are looking good. Another team that is a pleasant surprise because they squeaked into the playoffs last year, took Peterborough to the limit, and now they're in second place in the whole league. So yeah, another pleasant surprise. Shout out to the bench staff there too, because there's a lot of knowledge on that bench. There's a lot of Minto Cup and Man Cup winners on that bench.
And again, a very young team too. I think maybe 3 guys are in there last year. 4 at that, not a lot.
So again, where are these guys going to be? Some of them for their first year. Where are they going to be in year 5?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. again, like about the culture. So just last podcast, I think I had to go to an Arrows game after. They had sent me their playlist for all of their music. Like I've been doing the music for them. However, they haven't given me all like I don't really know the players, right? Like some of them are from far away or they're not from Six Nations. So like I just wouldn't know them. But I got all their music and I see what they're into. It's like outside of lacrosse. I got to know a little bit about them through their music, and it's a very different crowd. So like how do you build culture on a team when you have so many people coming in and out of the dressing room? Like you're having all these players who aren't from Six Nations, but you're on Six Nations and you want to build culture on a team. You want to like kind of have your like even if you want to have like a theme song or a tone during the game of like when I play music, I look at like, oh, we have a junior team. I'm going to play some hip hop stuff. That's probably what they're into. That's what they're going to get going, or that's what's going to get them going. And the senior team, maybe it's going to be more rock. But like with a junior team, when you have so many people from different cultures, how do you build culture on the team itself?
The culture is already there. It's been there. You don't build it every year based on where your players are from. They come and they have to buy into the team culture that already exists. Like the Arrows have been an elite team for a long time. Then they went through a rebuild, but the culture is still there. Everybody still wants to be an Arrow. So the culture is already there. Same with the Rebels. The Rebels culture, everybody still wants to be a Rebel. So they have to, wherever they're coming from, they have to buy into that. It's not built every year. Some things have changed a little bit because they went into a little slump. Same with the Arrows, but the culture's there. It's still there. It'll always be there. Even new bench staff has to buy into the team culture. Like new bench staff, new team comes in and they don't repaint the dressing room. They don't rebuild the stalls. It's all there already. So even from a coaching standpoint, you have to adjust to what you're stepping into. You may have your game plan. You may have this. You may have that. You may have big dreams. Walk in and it could be kiboshed because of the culture that's already there. And it's already there for these teams. They've been around for too long to try to have to build a new culture.
Yeah, because like, and this is just specific for music with like trying to get the players going and to motivate them in my own way, because the only thing I can do is press play. Mm-hmm. And hopefully, I play the song that they like and I make a moment. They get to see someone in the crowd and then they get to be like, that's my song and I just scored a goal and I'm seeing maybe my family or friends or whatever. Hopefully that moment is created. But like when the Arrows originally, like when I was doing their music, they, the song that was their come out song was given to me by, someone in the management, and it was an older song, right? So I just played it or whatever. However, now hearing their new come out song, and I know it sounds corny of just talking about a come out song, but it's like it's Many Men by 50 Cent. So that tells me a little bit more about the players rather than the song I was given before. So that's what I mean about like the culture of the team is like I want to know more about these players. I want to know how I can amp them up. I want to know how the coaches amp them up. What do they talk about to make sure that we are creating community in this dressing room, and it shows on the floor. It shows that they're communicating. It shows all that stuff. Like I just want to know like that type of stuff. Like how is that connection, community, and that culture made when it already exists? Because again, remember how last podcast I was talking about how we keep trying to recreate teams, but what if the Arrows wanted to be the 2025 Arrows, not the Arrows of whatever year?
They're still going to have to buy into the Arrows culture as far as fundraising. They're still going to have to buy into the whole reasoning behind with the Arrows' goals, because the goal's the same. It's Minto Cup. They're still going to have to buy into whatever culture was there. Like you said, it was an old song. What makes me laugh is they come out to Many Men by 50 Cent. What do you think the Rivermen's song's been? I know. But before they had a song that was more of your age group, right? Where it'd be like, oh, okay, this is going to be more of Jay's theme song. And I was like, ain't no way these junior players listen to this. I mean, they do, but I'm sure that's not their theme song.
I remember even just kind of bring back to like Utica, where it was like some of the older guys are seniors, or some songs we listened to at parties and stuff. And then they were kind of, here's the playlist. The one guy, we sat together kind of as a group of like 8 of us and kind of was like, oh, here's our playlist. And I remember the one song I think we came out with was the Jay-Z Kanye song from I can't. I'm blanking on the album on top of my head. You know, like the Paris and all that stuff.
Oh, Watch the Throne.
Yeah, Watch the Throne. Yeah. So it was a song off that, and then
Come on, Vale. Marcy Project. You're from New York. Come on, Vale.
No, I know.
You're letting me down right now.
No, I know. I was like, yeah, Watch the Throne. But this was
Where's your
2012
Yankees hat? Go step on that
2012 was
Yankees
a long
hat
time
right
ago.
now.
Yeah.
Come on, Vale.
That's right. Yeah. So, but came out a couple songs to that and stuff like that, and then when I was at high school, it was actually Last of the Mohegans. Was the bagpipe song? I don't know. I was just ninth grade,
Last
and
of the
then
Mohegans.
every
These New Yorkers.
yeah. I don't know. They came out to the bagpipes and
The bagpipe.
and then
What a thing to
that's-
come out to.
That's not Mohican at all.
yeah. No, I know. It was this. Did you ever watch the movie? It's the song from the last scene or whatever.
So I have a challenge for you. Reach out to members of the 2014 Rebels, because that's the last time they won the Founders Cup. Ask them what their playlist was.
Bring them out.
And
yeah.
and it's probably, if you played, some of these guys even had their own specific songs played for them when they scored. And I bet if you played that now, today's Rebels would eat it up.
Because I think they said like buddies and some family members, 07 and 08 was Bring 'Em Out as well when they won again. So that's kind of almost keeping like a tradition alive. Hey, we're going to always come out to this song. And like you said, it's crazy because you think about, hey, this song's, almost 20 years old, those songs, but it's cool that they kept it alive, it still sticks to today's society and kind of relevant as well.
Yeah, and it still sets the tone for like what we want the game to be like, and that's what as the DJ or whatever. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to build the culture, build the community, and not make these teams, but allow these teams to have the best experience they can. Just go on the floor, have a good game. Hopefully, no one gets hurt, or if someone does, shake hands after. Go home, have a good time. And then, like you were saying, like making a list together, like that's super important. I feel like that's like something you should do at the very beginning. Is like have a little board at the beginning or in your practice, and be like, all right, let's get our playlist going. Different things like that, because it's just it allows communication, and communication is so important in sports. Any sport, communication is important.
We always thought about you could always tell a team by their playlist. So kind of going to some stadiums. Washington Lee, they played some bad music when we were on the turf, but then played better stuff when they were on the turf. And then even Alfred University, they were just straight. Their whole playlist was Nickelback.
Oh,
and we were hating. We were like, screw these guys. They're kind of losers. We're gonna beat them.
They're kind of losers because it was the Nickelback.
It was just the whole
There's
thing.
a couple good Nickelback songs.
Yeah. We were like, and then even
the best one is like hardcore white boys like listening to Creed.
Oh yeah. And then I'm thinking of the old Method Man. We were talking about Method Man Redmond the other day.
Oh yeah.
Their famous song that they kind of had together. I remember going to Hofstra games. They would always play it. And
the Rockwilder.
Yeah. And Kyle Harrison doing like he was a big time. He's one of the guests on the new Paul Rabel show, Kyle Harrison. He was at Hopkins and he was doing dancing and stuff, like dancing to face-offs. And I was like, Kyle, because I was like 13 at the time.
Oh my Kyle.
And he gave like a wave and
like
like an autograph.
Amelia?
Yeah, but I would always.
That's a great movie. That's a great movie.
A lot of teams I know like would always kind of have that in their playlists, like different schools and stuff like that. The Rottweiler one. So
Yeah, there's some great songs. That's what I enjoy. Like, of course, the game is amazing and all that stuff, but like, creating a good experience for the whole community, because sometimes I get to see like when you play like a kind of a funny song and like playing "It's Hot in Here" by Nelly when it is hot in here, and you see some old grandma being like, "Whoo." Right, just little moments like that. Those are little cute moments that are something that happens off the floor that creates someone else's day. That's what I'm there to do.
I haven't really paid attention to the Chiefs walkout song.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I got to get there early next time, and we'll catch and see what they come out to. See what those guys are like, right?
I imagine that's got to be hard. Like it's a lot of different age gaps right there.
Again, it's the team's culture. It's not the players' culture.
And I was thinking before too about the Chiefs, like even Jay said there. You hear some guys maybe they've played for Orangeville and played the Arrows or played for Rock and stuff and played like versus those Randys and Cody Jamesons and stuff like that. And it seems like a lot of times you'll hear stuff in other interviews and stuff of, hey, I came in the locker room worried, like I've cursed these guys out, they've cursed me out. But it always seems like, obviously, like you said, same culture. Hey, you got the teal and orange on, shaking hands, welcome to the team, and everything's very cordial, right? And those players seem to come back every summer. So obviously things have, besides the winning, obviously that family atmosphere, I'm sure, carries on.
Oh yeah, it's like when I saw Rosie at the Arrows Orangeville game after somebody posted a controversial photo.
You're the one who took the picture
the night before.
Yeah, you actually took the picture.
I didn't take the picture of myself.
He took the other one.
I didn't post it. Anyhow,
I don't know who runs that account. They could be from Connecticut.
They probably are.
I think so.
Anyhow, I went up to Nick and I'm like, hey, how you been? And we shook hands and we're shooting the breeze and everything was fine.
Yeah, I gave him a couple of Pittsburgh Steeler cards the next night. So George Pickens isn't there anymore, but that's all I had for Steeler stuff. So I know he's a big fan and a big card collector. So it was nice. I was like, here, thanks for coming on and stuff that time. Here, wanted to give you these.
You didn't even come on the show when he was here.
Yeah, so I missed giving it to him. I was
guy.
You think you're really sucking up there, Chris. What's the motive here?
I don't know. Maybe he'll
Rose is going to have to come on again, and you're going to have to be here.
Yep. We can make a trade live.
Make a trade live.
Edit it out. It's not live.
All right, let's get into some Chiefs stuff. There is since we were talking about the Chiefs, there's a little bit of a trade. Thunder Hill, his rights have been traded for. Who are they traded for?
I didn't even pay attention.
Matt Marinian. I can't really say his name correctly, but big D guy from Ottawa, a Burlington guy, and he's played for Kohlberg the past couple of years. He's like 6'5".
Okay.
Big dude. And I believe that's his brother that's on Kohlberg now, was star attackman at Ohio State, and he's kind of a top 10 NL draft pick. So when Kohlberg was here, the brother who's a rookie in the MSL was playing, but I didn't see Matt playing. But I'm sure they're trying to shore up the back end. Maybe some guys, I know Kyle Rubish hasn't came out yet this season, so maybe they're trying to shore up the back end. Some of those guys aren't coming back out, so they're trying to make a trade and kind of get some size back there and some physicality. And Matt's he's good for Ottawa. He's a big guy and everything like that. And I guess he said he started lacrosse late, was more of a hockey guy before he was playing well in junior B hockey or St. Catharines Falcons or something like that, junior B hockey, and then had buddies playing well in junior B, and then that's where he started off his career. I think he played a little bit in minor in high school, he said too, but
yeah, he's a big defensive guy, big transition guy too, so probably a good addition for the Chiefs on the back door, but it doesn't affect Thunder and the Rivermen at all.
No, definitely. And like you said too, for him coming in the locker room, Larson Sundown's Ottawa guy, and then he's a Burlington guy like Ryan Smith. I think they might have played a little junior A together, so he'll know some guys coming into the locker room.
And then what else was a part of that deal? There was like future considerations, and there was like one other thing or something.
It was like picks and the future considerations of 2026. My big thing is I found out that how in BC, like a lot of those teams, there's making tons of trades there. You get traded for the rest of the season and go back at the start of next year, where I heard in Ontario, it's if you're traded June 20 or 30th, you got to go. You can't come back to that team until next year, June 30th, right?
It can be put into the trade clause about when you can it's the same. We've traded players away or they've transferred out, and stipulation's always been at the conclusion of this season they come back to us.
So then, but for Thunder, it might be good too. He maybe gets a couple senior A games in, scores, right? For NL scouts picking him up. Obviously, he's leading you guys, right?
He's had senior A games.
No. I'm saying maybe he gets in a couple more though. Right?
Well, honestly, at the end of the day, that'll be up to him, and as long as there's no schedule conflicts. Because first and foremost, Kohlberg does get his senior A rights. That doesn't necessarily mean that he will be in a Kohlberg uniform this year. Thunder's on the Rivermen. He's I know he's our leading scorer. He might even be the league leading scorer. I think one of those Pfeiffer brothers went ahead of him though in our game on Saturday because Thunder cramped up. He had left the game for a little while, so he was a little beat up and a little down on himself, but he did go back in. But I think if he's not first in the league, he's for sure second. Honestly, it'll be if there's no conflicts and Thunder gets the call to Kohlberg, I don't have an issue with him going. But again, it'll be up to him.
Is we can't speak for him, but like if you were Thunder, is this a good or bad thing? Just
I did have a quick chat with Thunder earlier, and his words, at least it's still Senior A.
And like I said, he gets in a couple more games. They've traded away. Technically, they didn't draft Travis Longboat. He was drafted by Kohlberg. So then Chiefs last year had to trade with Kohlberg to get him in a Chiefs uniform because they didn't protect him, and then missed out on drafting him. And then Marshall Palace, he was once a Chiefs rights as a protected player, was traded to Kohlberg. So maybe he'll get some, like I said, some run in Kohlberg, right? Some games maybe in playoffs or something like that. And then obviously he's more, I'm sure the focus is on Riverman, where he is an everyday lineup guy for you. And my big thing is too with the Chiefs, they don't ever really, they're willing to give up the young talent in the picks, right? That's always kind of to get some NL already guys in the lineup. But I was been thinking, like, I don't know if they own their own first round pick next year, and a guy like Trade here, I believe, would be up in that draft. And what would the Chiefs have to do to trade back to get Trade Deer next year? I know it's a bit in the future, but like we saw the Arrows, they traded at the time, it was a blunder of them kind of trading away that first round pick and missing out on a Trade Deer. So I would hate to see the Chiefs do the same thing. I would like to see them kind of trade him and bring him down here to this team rather than him going to a Kohlberg or a Brooklyn or something like that.
Yeah, and especially like if they're looking for like someone that a brand can be built on, he's already building his own brand, so you can see that he has the mind to go that way, if that's the type of player they're looking for, which I would think so.
And and a younger player that can show he can play in the lineup, right? So he'd be good for next year and stuff like that. But going back, I think, it's good for Thunder. And like I said, the Chiefs could always get him back in the future. They've traded away, was it Ryan Simpson back in the day? And they got him back. And was it Ryan Simpson or Shane Simpson? Sorry.
Shane.
Yeah, he was actually, I believe they said, got hurt in a Chiefs game and was traded to Kohlberg and then didn't play for Kohlberg. And 2 years later, came back to Chiefs. So guys can get traded and come back. It's not a sentence, a life sentence that he's going to stay in Kohlberg forever.
A life sentence.
He can always come back.
Make that sound awful.
No, I didn't.
It's not
didn't
a life
mean like
sentence.
that. Just and like
No,
you said,
Val, it's not a life sentence.
so does, like we've said before, some of those Riverman players that when they traded away their A rights, were you kind of looped into that one? Like Riverman management, or was that just
That's
here and
MSL
there?
trade. If management with the Chiefs lets me know anything, it's basically a courtesy. It's the same as any dealings the Rivermen make. MSL teams don't really necessarily are involved because it's B rights.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, just that courtesy, though. I just wasn't sure. I know in the past trades they brought you in or kind of said, here's the guys we're dealing to this team. So I just didn't know if
I thought you would have
This
had all
time
the
around.
insights on that with all the Chiefs.
with his
With you and Dewey Jacobs over there.
Yeah, this one I didn't know about actually. I was kind of asking him, "Hey, you guys."
I was asking him,
they got like Kellen LeClaire back and stuff like that, and I see Rubish is still on the thing. Obviously, some of those defenders they thought of getting Hosick and Cam Wire stayed PLL, and then we didn't see Rubish back yet, but he's getting older, right? So maybe he's taking the summer off, or I don't know if he was going to try to come get some games in. And Liam LeClaire hurt his ACL last year. He didn't come back this year. The brother Kellen did. Last game versus Peterborough, Larson Sundown, he had to play defense. So maybe I don't know.
And Dane. Dane had to play defense too.
And Dane runs out the back door, so maybe looking to get some actual true defenders back there just in case.
Well, I had three guys that had to, after our game Saturday in Brooklyn, they had to stay and play again with the Chiefs. Sounded like it was a good game. It was an OT thriller.
Richie McDonald, right? I'm trying to think who else. Josh Ritchie, right? And McDonald, and I can't remember who the other guy was.
They didn't pull one guy. They wanted one of our guys, and he said no. So they brought up Blaze Becker from the Arrows.
Yeah, and I heard he did good and learned a lot playing with guys like Tyson Bell and different guys. And hey, that's a good look for a guy who's captain of the Arrows and gets to get in an A game, get that experience. And he came back Sunday and played good versus Brampton for Arrows. So.
And then let's get into the Rivermen. Let's get into it.
What do you want to know?
How are they doing? How is everything?
Slight bump in the road against Hamilton on Friday night. It seems like this time of year in that game, Hamilton gets us every time. Last year at the Super Series game, Hamilton beat us then too, and then they got one past us this year. They had a new goalie in. I think his last name Kidd.
Mm-hmm.
He did pretty good, but I'm not gonna say that he stole the victory for them. It was a good game. Hamilton came ready. I think we were a little overconfident.
I think you had mentioned last pod that you were not worried about Hamilton at all.
Still not.
Okay,
Because I said
doubling down.
I was like,
Still
oh,
not
Andrew
worried
Kidd, the Deacon Knotts, the NLL goalie for Brooklyn, right? You guys did end up beating them finally, right? Slayed the Dragon there, and
Slayed the Dragon.
and Andrew Kidd's Dougie Jameson's back up in Albany, and he got in a couple games this year and did all right. So
Yeah, I'm still not worried about Hamilton. I'm not at this point. We've got the monkey off our back. We've beat Brooklyn. I think we can get it one more time to even that out. But we went Saturday and to Brooklyn at a 4 p.m. game, and we all gas, no brakes, as they say in professional wrestling. There was a bit of a scare towards the end of the third. They did come within one, or did they tie it up? But Greg Elijah Brown he scored the first two of the game for us, and he scored the last two. Those last two put us ahead 13-11, and that was the final score. And like I said earlier, Thunder was having a pretty decent game. He suffered from some cramps, and they had to actually carry him off the floor, but we doctored him up and out.
Who carried Thunder off the floor?
Our trainer and two of the players.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought you went out there. I'd be like, oh.
No, but I was helping tend to him in the tunnel. But Thunder's got a big heart. He was pretty frustrated that he wasn't able to get back out there. And I mean, I had advised him. I said I wouldn't go if I were you, because you need to worry about you. But he was determined he had to get back out there, and he got back out there. At one point, I literally looked at the game and turned, and he was gone. I'm like, where the hell did he go? And he was running up and down the hall and posting up like he was shooting. So to see if he's cramped because he's hamstring cramped up, to see if it was bothering him, and he said, "No, I'm good. Take me up." I was like, I still advised him not to go. Like I said, the kid's got a big heart.
now you said 5 games left in the season, right? Guys
Yep.
need 4 games. Are we going to be seeing any different guys in the lineup, even if you don't name drop right now?
Maybe.
Come on, you got a name drop.
Nope.
No.
Because you face Hamilton. Those games will be streamed this weekend. You play Hamilton, right? Saturday at ILA, and then I'm not gonna lie, I got to be at Sunday's game, so I don't want to. Hopefully, it's not 19-2. Give me a little something here.
Well, we have 4 games left. 2 are home, 3 are away, and our 2 home games are both this weekend. Yes, we got Hamilton again, and we got Ennismore again. Will there be any new faces in the lineup? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, yeah. Who they are, you'll have to come and see.
He hasn't even told us yet, guys. So you got to
Come and pay the money and see.
Yep. What about some fundraisers? That's what I'm like. That's what we need. It's been slow for fundraisers this year. Like some dances.
Well, out of respect for for the heart and soul of the Rivermen, Cheryl, when she passed away, we put extracurricular stuff on hold. Team still mourning, family still mourning. Just didn't feel that it was the right time to be worried about stuff like that. I mean, yes, we do need to do it. We do need to fundraise. We do need to do a lot of things, but focus was on making sure that team was okay, executive were okay, Cheryl's family was okay, and but yes, we do have a fundraising dance coming up, 3rd weekend in July, powwow weekend here on Six Nations.
Powwow weekend.
So, dust off your best fedora veil, get some beads on it, lend it to somebody so they can slay aunties.
Oh. Yep. What do you wear? What's your go-to? I was going to say, actually, I know what your go-to is.
Yeah, not a
Let me
that
guess.
2024 Man Cup shirt?
I was going to say, let me guess, a Man Cup golf shirt and khaki shorts.
Yeah. Then maybe I'll wear my new Chiefs hat I picked up at the 50-50 table last week. So
You're a legend, man. I see it in the comment section. Someone was asking where your slacks were at NEPAM.
I was like,
event.
here we thought it was going to be really hot, and then I already was like, okay, I'm going to go with the shorts, and then it was kind of chilly that night. Right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's why I didn't wear a suit, because I was going to wear it, then it was going to be too hot, and then I was like, no, it's freezing out, and then, yeah.
Leave it to veil to show some skin. Yeah, it's got to have the legs.
No shame, that guy. That guy has no shame.
All right, we have not lots more, but we have a couple more topics. So let's get into the Warriors game. Warriors,
Which one?
Allegany,
Which game they played too?
Friday and Saturday.
Friday was tough for Ace. Kind of got beat pretty good. And, it wasn't the best showing, right? It looked like it was close at first, and Allegany really had their way, even with Chase Frazier getting thrown out the game for talking to the ref. But hey, Saturday, that was kind of dusting over a Friday, right? I don't know, like they beat him pretty good, and Allegany was missing some players, right? They had no Zach Miller this weekend. Frankie Brown just played the Friday. Chase Frazier was thrown out and then was suspended, right? Wasn't allowed to play Saturday versus the Warriors, but I thought the Warriors had a good showing Sunday. It was 4-4 before some heated fights were breaking out and bench and punching and everything like that. So
I didn't see Friday's game. I had my own game in Hamilton where we lost. Saturday's game, I was in Brooklyn. I did fly home to manage catch the third period of the Allegany and Warriors game, though. It was quite entertaining.
Yeah, Friday's game was like Chris said, just kind of, I didn't quite know where there's a lot of momentum going up to the game, but then I didn't really see it too much during the game. However, let's talk about Saturday. Saturday I thought it was a good game. I thought Saturday was a great game. It was just kind of I don't know.
The Warriors' offense seemed to be moving the ball a bit better, and
They started off great.
yeah, they jumped out to a quick lead, and Go Abrams was the net. Hometown guy Chase Marr was the net the Friday, and then they went with Go Abrams on the Saturday, and they were scoring some pretty nice goals. Sowie had a goal. I think Dustin Endicott had a goal. Kind of right off the kick, the defense was playing good, and Amani was making some saves. They still no Chase Frazier, but Chris Colucci was still playing that night, and he was very hot, almost scoring almost all the goals at the start of Friday's game. So Lane, they still had to face him, and he had a good amount of goals right Saturday. What was his stat line? Do you know, Dad?
Saturday, I have no idea. Like I said, I got there to watch the third period. I didn't check who was scoring what. I just got there. I actually walked in when the buzzer went to end the second period. I looked at the scoreboard, and I was actually shocked that it was that close.
I saw you walking this way. I was like, oh, Jay made it then, because I know we were talking how you had games both days. So
And one thing that that Lane did tell me, he says Imani played way better Sunday than he did Saturday. So, first year and senior, shout out to Imani for being able to stay stellar in there.
like you said, he played. Allegany was able to switch goalies, had a good goalie Friday and a good goalie Saturday, and then Monty. Not saying that other goalies and stuff, they all have good goalies, the Warriors, but he was the starter for both games, right? So he saw a lot of shots on the weekend.
I did see that they switched up. The lineup between Friday and Saturday. There was
Definitely.
completely different offense on Friday than Saturday, and even though it was switched up, the Warriors still started out strong on Saturday, and none of those players I don't think even played on the Friday. So it was kind of oh, okay, it was different, but there were still some moments during Saturday when I was kind of I wish Marshall was out there. I wish Stu was out there. And, some of those other players that I looked over and I just seen them kind of watching the game, and I was like, why aren't they out there? But,
I don't know if Sam Firth got his 4 games in, so maybe that's why he didn't make it out this weekend to play either games. But obviously, he's an NLL lefty forward, right? And he does good with Marshall as well, watching that 1-to-1 game they played together. So even having him that some points on the board, I'm sure he would have had a couple more goals.
For me, it was more or less just seeing players stand off to the side, and I was just oh, no, they're right there. They could have been on the floor type of thing. And I'm just But I digress. What did you think of the fight? You were there for that. You caught it live, right?
Yep.
Okay, what did you think of the fight? It was Julian and Lane. Lane, of course. Lane Smith and Julian.
Well, I know they're buddies off the floor. I know that. Julian come up to me after the game, and he's like,
He's such a nice guy.
he's like, so my first senior fight had to be against Lane. I'm like, it happens. It happens. Like, I know there was some pushing and shoving. Even prior to that, there was pushing and shoving between Lane and a different player on the Warriors. And again, the game psychology. Even if the play goes up the floor, some guys may try to give you a little shot, whatever, back and forth. You're trying to get in each other's head. I get it. Don't know who the other player was, but Lane and Julian got to pushing and shoving pretty quick, and it escalated pretty fast. And I can quote both of them because I talked to both of them. I guess they thought Lane was a righty. So Julian tied up his right hand, and Lane's a lefty. So that's where those little rabbit punches, those little uppercuts were coming in from the left hand. But shout out to both of them. You know, they got up, they patted each other on the back. They were texting each other later that night and the next day. Everything's good. They're all good, and that's the way it should be. Leave it on the floor, on both sides.
Yeah, even when they because like I'm right in the middle, like I'm in the box, right? Like I'm by the timekeeper and all that stuff, and the doors are open. I'm between both players, so like if anyone's chirping on that side of the floor, I can hear it. And I have to say that Lane's much more calmer than you. I feel that like the Warriors were chirping a little bit, and then like Lane's pretty calm, but like you would have been going back and forth.
Oh, of course I would have.
Lane's way more calmer than you. Lane's just kind of smiles and he's like, "Yeah, I'm living rent free in your head." And that was pretty much it.
He was happy it just wasn't Tonawanda and nobody threw an ice cream at him. They don't serve ice creams at the Civic Center. So.
Like last year.
Yeah,
they got that ice cream spreading last year. The only thing that concerned me about that afterwards, the door that Lane left the floor from, that door was still wide open when play was going on.
Yeah, those doors aren't actually like, they don't close on themselves. You need a door person.
Yeah, because that door was in between the benches, right? And Lane left the floor come off because I went walking down the hallway and saw, and play was going up and down the floor. That door was wide open. That's a bit concerning for me because that could have caused serious injury had somebody got hit into that open doorway. So, Can-Am refs, pay a little more attention.
See, and then someone was filming it. We could have been like, "Oh, look, there we go, ref."
You can film all you want in Can-Am. There's no repercussions.
There we go. What'd you think? What'd you think of the game, Bale?
Yeah, I thought it was like I said, the Saturday game was more like, because it was a close game, right, of who's going to win kind of thing. And even, like I said, the fighting on the bench, and Lane and Julian are both friends of mine too, so it was good to see them no hard feelings there, right, tapping each other after. And, Warriors showed they can compete with Allegany. Obviously, both teams were missing players, and it's hard to play this game till playoffs. So
going into this weekend, I was talking to one of my family members, and I said, and I'll say it here, I said, prior to both games, it wouldn't surprise me if the Warriors pulled off one win out of these two games, because the Warriors were on a roll. They were coming off a few wins, and it had they beat Allegany on the weekend, it would not have surprised me at all.
Undefeated at home this year, right? Obviously, two of them were forfeit wins, but they beat Tonawanda, Newtown, all at home so far, and then had the two. They were probably going to beat the Onondaga team anyways if they came up here shorthanded and stuff. So
yeah, they come down with like 7 players.
Yeah, so they're 5-0 record at home going into this weekend of playing Allegany. So, like you said, that would have been a good chance for this weekend of beating them. I know obviously the start of the season was a little bit troublesome for the Warriors, so they were kind of flipping the script there. So,
well, and playing in the Brantford Civic Center, like I said, we wanted to host the President's Cup there had we got the bid. But there's a lot of nostalgia there. The Chiefs won Man Cups there in the early 90s. Years ago, there was a winter pro league here in Canada. They played in the Civic Center. I was a teenager then, so that's how long ago that was. But it's good to see competitive lacrosse back in the Civic Center. I know the Junior C Brantford Warriors played out of there for a little while, but they moved. So, yeah, to see the Warriors back in the Civic Center, I mean, it's a great venue, great location. it's becoming part of an entertainment complex. I mean, the Brantford Bulldogs OHL team has put a lot of money into that building. The casino is literally next door. I mean, the back parking lot is shared between the casino and the Civic Center. That's how close it is.
They could definitely, obviously, right, help their team, right, with money and stuff is selling tickets, and they could definitely, draw some fans from Brantford, right? They got behind the Blast, they got behind, the Bulldogs and different teams like that. And so, and this team's not technically, it goes on the Grand River name, which is everywhere, right? So
I think it'd be interesting if like the Warriors went to like Element Casino and asked for a sponsorship, but not like sponsorship in the sense of like money. They could go there and they could be like, oh, give us vouchers that we can give out to like as a part of our 50-50, and say our 50-50 is sponsored by Element Casino. It's right next door. At the end of this game, you can take this voucher and go spend some money. Like it's a perfect like way to build that connection with Element Casino and the Grand River Warriors, and it's right along the Grand River. Like, yeah, I don't know.
And definitely too, because like I don't know if they said they used to, the Brantford Sea had a little bit of a deal with that Boston Pizza across the street. I know the Warriors guys kind of asking them, they said they didn't. But even if you put up a Warriors jersey, right, it's a conversation piece. Hey, what team's that? Oh, they play over there. Oh, do you have like, if they made up the little program sheets, right, that you can keep at like the hostess table and people can kind of grab. And even they used to keep a jersey, I guess the old guys of the Junior C team that helped run it was friends with the guy in Kelsey's by the Linden Park Mall, so they had a Junior C jersey in there. They can even put a jersey in there. Hey, you had a relationship with the Brantford Junior C. Now we're kind of in town playing. And like you said, even just putting those schedules around town, it's conversational pieces of drawing fans in, or people being like, tickets aren't expensive, right? They're all right. So maybe probably cheaper than the Bulldogs game, so people can bring some family out and kind of some cheap entertainment.
I think of even like a team like the Rebels or the Arrows with that demo, the 21 and under, and then especially the people who are following them on Instagram. If you got some Arrows or Rebels players to show up at your establishment, let's say if it were Village Pizza or like Greens to Go or something like that, that's kind of like healthy, or maybe not Village Pizza, but like Greens to Go or something a little bit more healthy, something like that, and said, hey, we're gonna have players at this establishment, and for this time being, like something's on sale, and then you get some players to tweet things out, or you get to make Instagram posts to get people to go to the business. Because if you look at the demo of these players, that's who they want going to that type of business. So like, yeah, when I think of like Element Casino with the Warriors, everyone going there to watch the Warriors potentially would probably want to go to the casino. People going to watch the Rebels potentially probably want to take care of the body and go to like ProFit or get smoothies and different things like that. So I don't know. I think all these teams need to be doing a little bit more and putting their best foot forward of like who to actually go out there and talk to, and think about the demo of your players. Get to know the culture of your team.
Because like you said, those little pocket schedules, right? You see different teams have it. Even I still see Hagersville Junior C puts them around town at, the sub shop and the haircutters, right? And just kind of get a bunch of those printed. I'm sure they can get a good deal somewhere and put them around town, and people will see them, and then puts the idea in their head to go to games. Because that's the big thing. A lot of people and a lot of older people don't know where to look for games. I deal with a lot of people calling the store and stuff, especially a lot of older people in this community saying, hey, who plays tonight? I don't know how many calls I had Sunday saying, what time do the Arrows play, or who plays tonight? You get what games at the arena? When do the Chiefs play? When do these plays? Where do I see these schedules? And I'm just like, oh, Instagram. You got to search the team's page and go on Instagram. But some of them are, we talked about old people having phones, but a lot of these people are maybe community members in their 60s and 70s and stuff. And they're like, oh, I don't have Instagram, or I don't know how to find those things out. These teams don't really have websites and stuff. And some people post around the arena. So I'll say, here's the Arrows one in our store here. Or if you want to see the Rebels ones, it's down by the vending machines. But, I even just see people from Simcoe. My kids started playing. I want to know where to go watch, and people from Brantford, hey, I want to go watch. My kids started playing. I want to take them to a high caliber game. And it's just kind of like, oh, well, these guys play this night, these guys play this night, these guys play this night. But something where these guys can at least have or put in their car or put it on their fridge and be like, hey, these guys play, let's go, instead of just me saying Arrows are Sunday at 7 and Chiefs are Tuesdays at 8 and Rebels are Fridays at 8. People forget, right, in busy schedules. So
Yeah, or even some of the people who watch this show and they're waiting at the end of the game or at the end of the show for us to be like, yeah, this game's happening on Wednesday. Then we got the Chiefs on Tuesday. Then we got the Rebels on Friday. Then we got the Rivermen are on the road on Saturday. Warriors are doing this. Like, unless we talk about it, and like we do have a really good following now, but at the in the beginning we didn't, but now we have a good following. But we need more communication in this community of like how people can access this great entertainment of lacrosse. That's what I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and like I said, yeah, even just printing out more schedules and kind of putting them around town, and that'll kind of help a bit, right?
Yeah, like we got 2 newspapers on Six Nations, we got 2 radio stations, but yet none of the teams are actually going to these establishments, or none of these establishments are reaching out. Now I understand why, because I've worked at these establishments, so I understand why they don't have the connection, but that just makes me think that you have to go to the higher ups and being like, well, how can we fix this? How can we build a better community within Six Nations where we all can get along and communicate, and we can have more of our talent being actually seen?
It's easy. For the radio stations, lower your damn prices.
I don't even know how much they charge these days.
Too much.
Day is not involved.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
way too much.
And then even this guy who always comes for years. I haven't seen him at too many games this year, but usually he'll come by and be like, hey, he's probably a guy again in his 70s from Port Dover, but him and his wife just like coming out to lacrosse games. He's not a lacrosse player, never was, but talking to him a few times, hey, they just like, and obviously COVID, that was terrible for all these people because, hey, we do this every summer. They were like, we go to MJ's and get fish and chips and then come watch the lacrosse game. So that guy will kind of pop in every now and again. Hey, do you know when the next game is for such and such or this team? And it's like, oh yeah, these guys are tomorrow night or they're on the road, or sometimes people show up and there's not a game. It's like, oh no, it's a road game this week.
Yeah, and it just I don't know if we need a bulletin board when not a bulletin board, a big bulletin wouldn't really do much because you'd have to literally stand in front of it. But yeah, I don't know how to make it more accessible so that everyone can see and access and be a part of it. But it definitely needs to happen. But I know we've been going for a little bit, so I'm going to give you these last-minute questions here before we get out, because we do have some questions from the fans.
All right.
Okay, so because of the warm-up balls being stolen by Orangeville, a question came in. What is a prank another team has done on your team or that you have been a part of, and has there any time another team has taken it too far?
Let's touch on that. Orangeville stealing the warm-up balls. If the game was in Orangeville has to provide warm-up balls for both teams. Home team provides for both teams.
That's what it was. It was they provided the balls, but the balls were all greasers, and there was about 6 balls in the bucket.
And I've did that to other teams, and the argument is I still provide it with lacrosse balls. That doesn't say they have to be new out of the box.
So you're one of those.
I am one of those.
Oh, right on. Own it. Yeah.
What is a prank? It's happened to us. And we've did it back, but not to the extreme. Last year, for those of you that have been in the Six Nations Sports Memorial Cultural Center, down one side of the arena is 6 dressing rooms. On the other side is 1 dressing room, and it's very small. It's big as this room right here. And after talking with Parks and Rec, the powers that be, it was agreed upon that to have both teams on one side of the building might cause a safety hazard. There had been issues in past seasons with teams being in that. And yes, I know that there's a gate they put across that blocks the teams from being able to get at each other, but it was suggested that the visiting team be put in this other dressing room 7, which was very small, as a safety precaution, suggested by Parks and Rec. We agreed. So that was last year. This year, or that same year, we went to that other team's who was assigned that dressing room. We went to their home barn. They gave us a very small dressing room, and they turned the heat on.
So they had you boiling in there.
So our dressing room had the heat on, and it was very small. Our head coach at the time went up to the team owner and said, I get why you did that. I understand. We're going to beat you by 15 today. And I think we beat them by 13.
Right on, I like that.
So I don't know whether it was done on purpose, but the same team, we were on the road, went to play them again on a Sunday afternoon. Gave us a very small dressing room. and the heat was on again, and we beat them by 12. So if that's their prank, kind of backfired because it literally heated us up, and we went out there and beat them by double digits.
Yeah, overcoming all the barriers put in front of you.
Overcoming adversity time and again.
As we do as Indigenous folks. What about yourself, Vale? What about some pranks that you've been a part of or has happened to you and your team?
We don't want to hear about jock itch,
Yeah.
itching powder, stuff like that.
None of your shower talk, Vale.
I was trying to think as Jay was talking there, and I just kind of remember once giving our team the wrong field address, and kind of having us run around town. And by the third time, it was the right address, and we won that game too, right? Because you're pissed off, and even kind of the parents getting mad of showing up to the third school and being like, "This is finally the right place."
Yeah, like that's even happened in minor. I remember a few years back in provincials, we had to play at the Luther Vipond Arena. And when you walk in at provincials, especially, you walk in and look at the board and where it designates dressing rooms, and the whole day is up there, right? 9 a.m. game, 10 a.m., 11, all the way down. The whole day is up there, so you know what team's in what dressing room. Now, I don't know if it was done to us on purpose or not, but it's August. It's mid-August. It's very humid in this arena. Nobody likes playing in this arena. It's notorious for being a nasty place to play. Team before us left the hot water showers running. So it's already 30 degrees outside. It's about 37 with the humidity outside. So we walk in, and the dressing room, because the hot water has been running the whole well, everything is soaked. Like water is literally, condensation is running down the walls. Our guys go in to get dressed into their equipment. They come out more wet than when they went in before they even put their pads on because it's so humid in there. What can be done about it? Nothing. Is it a prank? Was it done on purpose because it was us? I don't know. But it's pretty dastardly sometimes.
Yeah. And we got some more questions. Okay, this one's a two-parter. What are your thoughts on Can-Am playing OLA senior B teams? And how come the President's Cup can't be played in the States?
The President's Cup has been played in the States. It's been won by teams in Can-Am. A bid has to be put in to host, and this year it's being hosted in Brooklyn. Last year it was in BC. So it's kind of like the Man Cup and it's kind of like all the national championships. It goes back and forth year to year. You have to put a bid in. It's been played in the U.S. Played for in the U.S. It's been won by a Can-Am team. I think Onondaga was the last one to win it.
Yeah, they were.
So it's not a matter of why isn't it? It's a matter of put a good bid in.
So Allegany seems like they have some pockets. If they wanted to put a bid in and have something out there, they could do that. That's possible.
As long as it's going to be, if it's already designated that it's going to be hosted in the West, a team in the East makes no sense for them to put a bid in because it's going to the West.
The last thing though that happened was the FNL, like the Founders Cup, was about to be held by Seneca War Chiefs in Allegany in 2018, and they had to put the kibosh on it because of insurance. Because the league, being a Canadian league, the insurance is Canadian, so there would be none of these players would have insurance in the States, and also the visas for the refs. They're all kind of mostly like a lot of these Canadian refs that wouldn't be able to ref in the States and get paid went out the working visas and stuff. So that year, Seneca War Chief was still good, so they still made the Founders Cup. And at the time, Aqui had a medicine men team, they were called, in FNLA. So Aqui hosted on the Canadian side. So they got the automatic bid, and then War Chiefs got in as the FNLA Junior B champion. Well, so I don't know if that'll come back again.
And that's how Oakville hosted 2 years ago. Originally it was this is what I was told. It was supposed to be in Nova Scotia, and for whatever reason they couldn't host. So Oakville kind of stepped in as the backup host. Much very similar circumstances. So that's why it was in Oakville a couple of years ago. It doesn't necessarily just go BC, Ontario. It's not the Man Cup is like that because they only take the Ontario champions and the WLA champions because there really is no MSL or senior A in other provinces. President's Cup has been played for in Alberta. It's been played for in Gunawaga. It's been played for in Onondaga. It's been played for all over the place. It's just a matter of knowing. So next year it'll be out west again. So for the year after that, get your bid ready. If you're in Can-Am and want to host, get your bid ready. That's all you got to do.
Because that's when, 17 was the last time the Slash were around, and they hosted Six Nations Slash at the ILA. And then 09, the last time the Sting were involved, Six Nations, they hosted. So I think those were the last two Can-Am teams I know that hosted. But like I said, I was even talking to the management last year of, hey, it's a free way of getting in to the President's Cup, right? I was kind of telling management of the Warriors, hey, there hasn't been a Can-Am team hosting since the last two Six Nations teams. Why can't you now host? And I was even saying that for the Fire of, hey, maybe you can even put in for the Founders Cup and get the Fire a free bid and host and, kind of use it as a fundraiser for your teams of selling tickets and vendor booths and stuff like that there.
And as far as Can-Am and OLA teams playing against each other, if you're in two separate leagues, you're not going to play against each other until you get to the President's Cup.
I think they were asking, hypothetically, Rivermen play the Warriors, and then Allegany would be playing Rivermen. Bringing those teams to play all the same teams that the Rivermen plays.
So then they would have to leave Can-Am and join OLA, or vice versa.
Yeah, that was just a question.
That's the only way you're going to get it done. I mean, you can't even really play exhibition games because if both leagues got wind of it, there'd be hefty fines to pay.
Always them fines. All right, we have one last question. Or actually, no, this is a two-parter. So how to get out of a funk. Remedies you've heard players do or go to the extreme to get out of a funk to motivate themselves. And then the last question is the greatest motivator you've ever met, and it can be outside of lacrosse, and why were they a great motivator? So how can you get yourself out of a funk and motivate yourself? What are something that you have known a players to do? And then who's someone that you know who's a great motivator and why? Let's start with Vale this time.
Maybe just trying to switch up a routine or something like that of, hey, I've been doing things this way. It hasn't been working. Maybe just switching up eating habits, or I got to sleep more and breathing, and just trying to switch up some life stuff maybe to kind of get your mind and body ready to playing better if you're kind of playing in a slump. And then some good motivators. I've had some decent coaches and stuff. Maybe one of my coaches at Herkimer was pretty good of kind of pumping the team up and kind of just being kind of a talker. He kind of yell and stuff and just get the boys kind of ready to get out there and go to battle.
What about yourself?
Well, personally, to get out of a funk, I think what got me there, what could I have did to not get for that to not happen. But you can't change the past, even if it's something that happened 5 minutes ago. You can't change that. I always tell myself it's Einstein's theory. If you keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result, you're beating your head against the wall because it's not going to happen. So what did I do to get in that funk? What can I do to get out of it and avoid getting in that funk again? That's usually my mindset. And it doesn't always happen in a split second. Sometimes for some people, it takes them a while to get out of a funk. Motivation, I always think of consequences. It's not a bad word. People think it is. But what is going to get me what I want? Did that get me what I want? No. So what do I got to change to get what I want? And again, it doesn't happen in a split second. It may take a little while. I know we went through it just recently with some players. We're we can pump your tires all day, but what do you need to do to get yourself out of that funk? And whatever you need to do, go do it. And sometimes it works. Sometimes they put in for a transfer.
Yeah. Yes, that's I guess my advice to someone who is in a funk and trying to get out of a funk, I would always just say remind yourself, and if it's talking lacrosse or let's say you're doing music or acting or something like that, remind yourself why you started. Mm-hmm. Remind yourself of the little simpler moments, or maybe what's the first thing, let's just use lacrosse. What's the first thing you learned when you got on the floor? Just go back to that very simple step and just start there again. Take that first step of like, why did I step on the floor to begin with, and start there and just retrace your steps. And as you're retracing those steps, you'll remember, you'll fall in love with, if you're playing guitar, you'll fall in love with the guitar again. You'll fall in love with the drums. You'll fall in love with your lacrosse stick. If you were a writer, you'll fall in love with the pen and pad, or if whatever it is, whatever your medium is, you'll fall in love with it again, and you'll just start remembering things. You'll start creating again. You'll start running again. You'll start catching. You'll start throwing. You'll start doing all those things. It's muscle memory, but you have to remember where you started. That's just my advice.
Well, another thing that I've told my players when they were young, I've told my boys, and I even tell myself, every time you feel like quitting, remember who's watching. Because now, if you're old enough where you got kids, you're their hero. And I know that's might not be the best advice, because you can't give up. If you want the best for your offspring, then you got to show them what that looks like. And yeah, you still got to get motivated. You still got to get out of that funk. But for a lot of times, that might be the piece that helps somebody get out of that. Even if it's not your own children, if it's your niece or nephew, or I know a lot of kids growing up, they played for their grandparents. And just to see grandma and grandpa or whoever, aunt, uncle, whoever up in the crowd smiling, that got them out of the funk. So you do whatever you got to do for you.
Yeah. And I think even another thing going back to that is how when you say you're playing for people, also sometimes remember that you have to play for yourself too, though. Mm-hmm. Because I can remember being a kid, always being like, oh, because I'm not very big, right? So I have to figure out how I can make an impact around people who are much bigger. So sometimes you're just thinking, oh, I have to go out there and man up somehow. But really, you're just you're not going to get much bigger. So you got to figure out how you can do it. So sometimes you might be trying to impress someone in the crowd. Could be your mom, your dad, grandma, grandpa, whatever it may be. So, but at the end of the day, you still got to play for yourself, because you'll never feel good about yourself unless you're doing it for you. Mm-hmm. So, I always want to leave on some positivity, but anybody got any last minute words for episode 35?
I want to give a shout out to Dusty Hill. He's now with the Gunnawagi Mohawks. And that's what he felt like he needed to do to get out of his funk and take a different route to achieve the goals that he had set. That's kind of what he told me. So shout out to Dusty. Good luck. Maybe I'll see you in the President's Cup.
And Vale?
No, nothing much. I got busy weekend coming up. We got some Masters games going on in Guelph at the West End Arena, and then coming back to help Daryl and with the Riverman games on Saturday and Sunday. So maybe I'll see you down there, Jay.
Oh, you will.
And I'll, of course, be there, because I'll be playing some great music, trying to build that culture, that community, trying to make sure everyone has a great experience. And that's episode 35 of the Creators Game Podcast. Until next week, we're out of here. Peace.